Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Last News channel. And today, we are tracking what could be a deadly and, I'm not a horrible tropical system here. 95L has been dropped to a 0% chance, 97L not a 90% chance, and likely to become a potential tropical uh, cyclone at the 8 p.m. update, according to the National Hurricane Center, and tropical storm watches and warning will be issued for the Lesser Antilles. With that in mind, you can see that cone here where we have a 90% for this to form somewhere in this area as it moves generally westward. And this is not good at all as we have very good conditions for this. 95L has fallen apart in the next couple of days. You can see here, this is the white satellite imagery. This is 95L right here. And what happened to 95L is that it had somewhat of a closed low. And even though it still has some really nice convection, it has completely opened back out into an open wave axis. And it's unlikely that it does reform itself, as it's going to be going into some pretty a lot of wind shear and a lot of dry air. So at this point, it's very unlikely that it is able to reorganize, and that's why National Hurricane Center has dropped the chances with a 0%. On the other hand, 97L down there, you can see that it has clear rotation. According to the National Hurricane Center, it is almost a close center. It's just barely open on that southwestward side. It has some very good bending, and to me, already looks like a tropical storm. It just needs to get that close center and that high winds. It will be tracking right behind 95L. And 95L will likely get rid of a lot of that dry air, and the wind shear will start to go down, which why 97L is going to pretty much have some perfect conditions to really intensify into a potentially strong tropical cyclone. This is what it looks like right now. A closer look at the storm. Loss of convection, a low pressure center being right around here. We have some very good push on the northern side, very good push on the southern side, and some fairly good right here. It's just a little bit open in this general area right here. We're avoiding it for it to close up, but obviously has some very great convection. You can see it here on that rotation. It used to be a lot scattered on a couple different sides. Now it has really gotten its act more together in the next 12 hours or so. You can see it has become a lot more compact. And now we do have a more compact system as we move to right now, where all our convection is compact to the same area. Again, that low pressure center being right around here. It's a very healthy looking storm. It, again, will likely be named by tomorrow. And if it is named tomorrow, it will be named Elsa and will be the earliest named storm on record. So at this point, we will be ahead of 2020. If the trend continues, we will be ahead of 2020 tomorrow. If this is named tomorrow, so obviously we were not expecting anything like that. It is very surprising as we are currently in an El Nino phase. So it's looking like we're going into an El Nino. So it is very surprising to see that this year, for now, could be more active than 2020. Obviously, it's unlikely, but we would be beating 2020 if Elsa does form tomorrow. This is what worries me so much. This is our guidance right here, spaghetti models, as some people like to call it, and this is very worrying. So our storm, this is the next 48 hours, making landfall in the Lesser Antilles. Next 72 hours, approaching Hispaniola. Next 96 hours, maybe making landfall in Hispaniola, and then next 120 hours, making landfall in Cuba, and then making landfall in Florida. You can see the path. These are the types of paths that we usually see in September. So it is very early to see something like this. But what's a little worrying is that we have very, very good ocean heat content and very good condition in this entire square right here that I've drawn out. We have very good conditions for development. And we'll have to see how it interacts with Cuba. But if it does take a route a little bit more to the east like that, like right here, it would have the possibility to really intensify further. We also have some pretty good conditions next 48 hours. We don't have the worst conditions, not the best conditions, but definitely not the worst conditions next 48 hours. The only part we'll have some dry air and wind shear will be in about the next 72 hours, where it could struggle a little bit, where 95L is currently dying out. But after that, it's good to go. There will be nothing stopping, really, this storm from intensifying Not much. This is the spaghetti, another spaghetti guidance, also showing similar things going Florida, East Coast, potentially. I mean, Hispaniola, Cuba, and Florida. This is really the cone at this point. And as you can see, a lot of land including in there. And this will be landfall in Florida would be in about 6 days or so. This is the model intensity guidance for the storm right now, and as you can see, we have every model showing a tropical storm next 12 hours, which is why, I mean, it is likely that we do see one tomorrow at this point, and then it's kind of split, but every single model has it staying a tropical storm for the next 168 hours, which is when it will be making landfall in Florida, and obviously Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Hispaniola, Haiti, all these areas, and the Lesser Antilles obviously could be impacted. Lots of models showing a Category 1, not ruling out a Category 2, obviously. At this point, we're staying on the lower end. It's never good to overestimate things, but it's never good to underestimate those types of tropical cyclones. Looking at the wind shear right now, 95L, a little bit of wind shear, 97L, looking good here. It's very low wind shear. It's going to be tracking northward. And then obviously we have lots of wind. You might be like, whoa, we have lots of wind shear in the Caribbean. And yes, but the trend is that will be going down. At least that's what we think for the most part. So it's hard to say yet how it will interact with that wind shear. But 30 knot is a little high, but it can be manageable. But it is likely that starts to go down maybe to 20 to 15 knots. So that's definitely something we have to keep our eyes on. Dryer wise, looking good right now. Obviously, 97L doesn't have any dryer at the moment, but there's a lot of dryer right here in the Caribbean, and that's gonna 95L is going straight in that, and that's really gonna diminish and disperse out as 95L goes through that. And so we're going to be getting a lot less dry air when 97L comes right behind 95L, because 95L is taking the exact same path as 97L. It just isn't likely that it will form. So by that point, a lot of the dry air will be gone and 97L will be allowed to intensify a little bit better. Same thing here as I was talking before. We have very good sea surface temperatures, and this is where conditions will be very good here. Look at that. 29 to 30 if we go back to that dryer, no dryer in that area. And if we go back here, we do have some wind shear. So that is really, wind shear is going to be the big limiting factor for this system. So looking at some models here, this is the latest GFS run, which is there we go. So let's just move on a little bit. This is 97L in about 36 hours. Already a 50 to 60 mile per hour tropical storm, really, in about 36 hours. So that's a little bit more than a day. Approaching the Lesser Antilles, potentially a 60 to 70 mile per hour system, as it does make that landfall on the Lesser Antilles. Then again, like I was predicting, we do see the storm not struggling, but not intensifying in this area right here, where we do have not the best conditions right here. So the storm, potentially Elsa, does not intensify or weaken. It just kind of stays there. Then it does make landfall in Hispaniola, which really, I mean, it really breaks our storm down. And then over Cuba is able to re-intensify and moves over to Florida. Now keep in mind, if we see a track that goes in right off the coast of Hispaniola and then follows the same thing, we're looking at a much stronger storm for Florida and Cuba. But with the GFS one, it does end up going over a little bit more over Hispaniola and Haiti, where we do have those big mountains. So with this track here, it goes a little like this. But if we see a track that goes, for example, like this here, then we will have a much stronger storm for Cuba and Florida. So that is something to keep in mind. And then with this, it does go up the East Coast a little bit like Irma. So not in strength wise, but in path wise, it is a little similar to Irma of track wise, with going off the West Coast and then onto the East Coast of the United States. So that's a GFS run. Looking at the European model here, you can see the European model has a different path with this still fairly strong cyclone, but goes right over Hispaniola, Dominican Republic, and completely falls apart over those big mountains. And then we do not see a reform; we see a die out over Hispaniola, which is definitely a possibility. Not the most likely at this point, looking a little less likely. And if you look at this GFS run, it does go a little bit more to the south with this. So it is less likely that that does happen, but definitely a possibility. Look at the CMC model run again, going to right over Florida and very similar path as the GFS, over Cuba and then up over Florida. So, I mean, pretty much every single model run right now has been showing a Florida and Cuba landfall as well as Haiti, as well as the Lesser Antilles. So, this will affect a lot of land and, will not be an out of sea storm. So, already we got Lesser Antilles, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Jamaica, and Florida that are all going to be in that cone when the National Hurricane Center does come out with the cone later tonight or tomorrow. Lastly, before I do end this video, I do want to show the HWRF model. Even though it is a usually over-intensified system, it is always something to look at. And this is the HWRF model right before making that push towards Florida. And as you can see, a very compact system to say the least. Looking at the simulated IR simile on this, it will be a hurricane, as you can see. And it does develop an eye. This is right now according to them. And then look at that. It's very clear. Already a hurricane develops an eye. Look at that. Very strong hurricane. If we look at this point right here, it has, let's see here, wind knot. Yeah, it's a hurricane with an eye, category 2 to category 3 hurricane already before even making that Hispaniola push. So this is why it could rapidly intensify. And then goes right south of Dominican Republic. That point, let's see how strong it is here. A little stronger, still probably around a Cat 2, Category 3 probably at that point. Still a Category 3, maybe a Category 2, and then it goes south of Cuba as still a Category 3, according to this at least. Very compact storm, as you can see. And then as it goes over Cuba, starts to make that northward push, it's still a Category 3. And then gets down to 954, still Category 3. So maybe a Category 4, and then obviously you can predict what's going to happen next. It does start to go straight north and towards Florida. So we're looking at a probably tropical storm landfall in the Lesser Antilles. We're looking at potentially a strong tropical storm to hurricane landfall or right off the coast of the Dominican Republic area, and then a hurricane to major hurricane landfall in Florida and Cuba. So we're going to be looking at that very closely. Please stay safe and look at official National Hurricane Center weather information. I'll have more updates.